Here we are. And I'm just going to share this quick link. Oops, wait, I'm not sharing my screen. Let's share my screen. I always forget to share my screen. Here we go. Okay. So just I just want to share some important links to the survey, the workshop survey. So if you want, if you can pass by and click on the link and just leave some feedback, we greatly appreciate any feedback that you have for us. We can always improve on the workshops. And all these links that are shown here will be included when we post this video on our website. The second link here is to the workshops. So if you want to bookmark this link or this website and keep track of all the workshops that we have at the online learning department, please feel free to visit that website. And then the last link basically is, these two are just Padlet, but the last one is where you can click to book a one-on-one session with me. And that's pretty much it that I want to share. Then I'm just going to turn it over to Shelley. Shelley has been gracious enough to take some time from her schedule and show us a course on Blackboard. And then once Shelley is done, then I can we can take some questions, or I can also show some tips that I have on Blackboard. But let me make Shelley a moderator. So you can take over from here, Shelley, and I'll stop sharing the screen. Okay. All right.
Okay.
You can
So I'm going to share, this is my online course. I've done a few things differently since I first started teaching online. And I think it's a better experience for the students. So what you're going to see today is really the instructor view, not the student view. But I'll kind of walk through how I've gone about presenting my online class. One of the big changes I made in terms of the online class, so you see up here, I always have the, it's called Course Calendar, What's Due When. I used to have FIT syllabus, and I used to have Course Calendar. And when I was talking to students, students would still ask me questions like, when is this due? And so I was talking to a student about it, and the student said, well, just label it what's due when, because that's how we think. So I actually relabeled it to very simply what's due when. But on a course calendar for my online class, of course, I have it divided by unit. So you'll see a quick overview of how it's divided, and then it'll explain why it's important to understand how the course content's laid out, and then what I've done differently in Blackboard. So one thing I just want to emphasize here is that if you look at the week-by-week schedule, you'll see that I have everything chunked in units. So you have the overview unit, then you have unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. So you can see all of these are very clearly identified in what topics that we're going to be studying throughout the course of the semester. So if I go back to my actual course, what you're going to see is that I used to, when I first started teaching online, is I would take my course as you're seeing it here, and I would divide it into the 7 learning units. And what I found when I did that was students would constantly ask me where something was in my Blackboard. So where's assignment 3? And I would have to remember, was assignment 3 in learning unit 2 or 3? I have to remember. So if I was getting confused about where stuff was, students were. So I actually dismantled all of the learning unit folders, and I created kind of information on where students would find things based on how they would go about navigating through the course. So for example, I have a folder with all assignments in it. So if there's anything on the course calendar that says assignments, it could be found in the assignments folder. I use digital content in my course. This one happens to be called Connect. So I have a icon there that lists all their homework. And so by chunking this by bigger subject, it makes it easier for the students to navigate. The other thing I've done differently, which has really been successful this semester, is adding Adobe Spark to a lot of my content. So the first thing students see when they come into my course, they actually get an email from me a week before the course starts. And in the email, they get this graphic here that says, "Welcome to Online Learning." So as we click on that, you'll see that the students kind of transported into what I think is a very visual, appealing introduction to the course, as opposed to Blackboard, where you're just kind of listing out all these files that they have to read. So I'm just going to kind of take you through here. So the first thing I do is I embed an actual video in here. I won't play it for you, but it's a video with me welcoming everyone to the course. So I have that embedded in here. And in here, I talk about myself, my background, and also creating a community of engaged learning. Then the student can go down further, and they see that I have another video embedded here about how to be successful in an online course. And so this is also a video. It's a bit, I think it's a little bit shorter, but it gives students tips to be successful in online learning. I then, create some visualizations here that just make it, again, it's supposed to be appealing to the students as they're going through here. And because I know students like to have also the backup documents, I also posted in here the key tips for being successful in online learning. The other reason I post the tips here is because one of their first activities is to talk about how they are going to master online learning in the course. So they always talk about their learning outcomes. I'll talk about Ask the Professor in a second. The other thing I put in here, which is really great, is information about the textbook. So I put in here, here's the textbook. I put a photo of the textbook, how to register. On this button here, it actually shows you how to register for the textbook. So this will take us to another page in McGraw-Hill on how they register. So that's an action button. And then I also talk a little bit about the digital content. So for this particular course, the way the content's delivered is sections of the digital textbook are highlighted so students can see where key components are of the course material. I then also embedded a video on how to use the textbook. This has really, between showing them what the textbook looks like, creating the action button here, and this video, I have virtually eliminated all questions about the textbook, the digital content, and how it works. So it appears to be working really well. I then put together some simple reminders for students as they complete their digital content. There's a couple things they have to do. They have to use their FIT email address. It has to be completed via Blackboard, etc. And then I recap what the overview unit assignments are. So here are the 5 things or 6 things you have to do in the overview unit. So this is kind of the first introduction into the course. I think it's much more visual appealing, more appealing than what I used to do, which is just kind of list out in files all the information that I just covered. Or I also used to use VoiceThread to do it. I found Adobe Spark, once you learn how to use it, is a great tool. The other thing that I have done is I create something called Kohan's Blackboard Tips. And while we have great resources through Blackboard and through online learning and CET, what I found is that there's some things that I particularly require students to do. So I just do these quick videos. And what's great about Adobe Spark is these tips I can deploy in all classes at the same time. I can also update all classes at the same time. So if I go into Adobe Spark and I want to add a new tip, I go into Adobe Spark one time, I update the tip, it then updates all my courses with that tip. So I'll just kind of show you what it looks like in terms of what types of tips I put in here. So I have, and these are actual videos that I actually make in Adobe Spark, because Adobe Spark is great for making short videos, probably 2 minutes or less. And most of these are short videos. So for example, there's a tip on, I require students in my online course to embed a photo of themselves in the first discussion forum. The reason I require that is because later in the semester, they typically have to embed a document or something else that pertains to the discussion forum. So I want them to learn how to use the embedded feature of the discussion forum. I require students to update their profile pictures in Blackboard. So again, here's a quick tip, very short video that shows students how to upload their profile picture. And then as the course progresses, I add in more tips. So this is how to see feedback in a graded discussion forum. I have how to see a rubric and an assignment, how to post in a discussion forum with clean formatting. And so my tips kind of came to be because these are helpful ways, especially in an online class, that students can learn how to do quick things that I require in the course. The other things that I do, I'm sure a lot of other professors do, is I'm a big fan of the library links. So I use the, here I have a link that directly goes to the library database. So we have FIT library study guides that you can add to your course. So instead of adding a bunch of examples about APA citations as an example, I just send them direct to the library so that they can see what APA citations is. So these are great to use. You do have to hook them up each semester. You have to connect them, but they're always updated, so that's great. So the two I use the most is APA citations and also reputable sources. So the reputable sources I've connected up with an FIT library subject guide, and it just shows for fashion business management some of the great sources that students have access to. In my digital, so a lot of us are now using lots of digital content. So what I've done with the digital content is all of this connects directly to McGraw-Hill. So students can go in to chapter 1, click on this, and this will take you direct to McGraw-Hill. They complete their homework. And when they do the digital content, my gradebook is automatically updated. So that's another great tool to use if you use one of the publishing companies that aligns with the Blackboard system. The other thing that I also use is something called Ask the Professor. So an Ask the Professor is just a discussion forum that I have set up where students have the opportunity to ask general questions about the course. And so those general questions that they ask, what I do is I make sure that I subscribe to it so that I can then get email alerts when students have questions. So that has worked really well. And in the overview unit, underneath the video, I actually show students here how to subscribe to the discussion forums so that they can be alerted when questions get answered. Are there other areas that you would like me to cover?
I think you also talked about the one of your tips that I love is the stop, start, continue.
Oh yes, the start, stop, and continue, which is not here right now because I haven't deployed it yet, but I can certainly speak to that. So every semester, about halfway through the semester, I deploy a survey that's called Stop, Start, Continue. I do it for all of my classes, face-to-face or online. But it's really interesting online because the feedback you get, it speaks to how you're teaching asynchronously, which could be completely different than how you teach synchronously or in a classroom, right? So what it does is it asks students to provide feedback on how the course is going. For example, I want the professor to stop doing this. So they tell me what they want me to stop doing. They tell me what they'd like me to start doing. And they also tell me what they like and they want me to continue doing. And then I also give them an opportunity to provide, general feedback if they want. And I use the start, stop, continue. Actually, I use it to improve my courses. So I restructured my course from having individual learning unit folders is because on my start, stop, continue, in addition to a lot of students asking me where things were in the start, stop, continue, one of the feedback from students, was that it's very difficult to find assignments and information in the course. So that's one of the reasons why I moved it to more of chunking it by, subject matter versus learning unit in terms of navigating through the course. So start, stop, continue is a great way to solicit feedback early on, and then you can make quick changes for the second half of the semester, which, really improves the student experience, especially if it's, small changes. Like, for example, in the beginning of my online course, I always open up discussions maybe 1 week ahead of time. I've learned the hard way not to open up 10 discussions week one of class because some students just, plow through and all the discussions, and that kind of takes away from the point of them. So normally in the beginning of the semester, it's very regimented, like a week, maybe a week and a half before discussions are due. And in start, stop, continue, sometimes students will give feedback. Can you open up the discussions a little earlier? And so I might start opening up 2 weeks in advance. So it's little things like that that some students really appreciate, just making a minor change like that to be helpful.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tips, and I passed it on since I've learned it from you. Another thing too, I just want to point out, and I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, to have these repositories, you're creating these help videos for the students or tutorial videos, and like you said before, you're recording them and you're saving them in Adobe Spark so that you can easily bring them over to other sections of the course or other courses where this information could be valuable to them. And you're keeping it very generic because it's all about Blackboard basics. And so I love that you're creating this repository in one place and not have to reinvent the wheel and then just bring, just port it into the course wherever needed. And so I think that's a valuable tip to pass on to others who are who are teaching multiple courses and want to reuse or recycle the information that's already created. You don't have to rebuild all these materials again. So I think that's a valuable tip to pass on. And I got to give it to Shelley. When I saw your course, Shelley, I was like blown away. I mean, this is beautiful. And I said, we got to have you speak. Show this out to everyone because again, it just shows to you that what can be done. Even with Blackboard, which is a tool that is limited in so many ways, but then you're going on to Adobe Spark and you're giving it a facelift. In other words, you're throwing an Adobe Spark page there, and then the whole lecture is happening asynchronously in that Spark page, and then all the assignments and all the other components are, as you can see, they're all in their own little category or little buckets along in the course itself. So I thought this was a great example of an exemplary course, and I would love to, to have, and this is why we have you here.
Thank you. I actually rolled it out. This Adobe Spark is actually in my online and my synchronous courses as well. And I've gotten a lot of positive student comments on this introduction video, whether it was the online one or the remote one that I sent out.
Where did you learn how to use Adobe Spark?
Well,
Yeah.
Jose, I had a training session with Jose who taught me the basics of using Adobe Spark. And then I had a follow-up training. So I guess it was 2 trainings that I went to. A lot of it, it takes a bit to get used to it. But to be honest with you, all the work I put into it this semester across all my courses is already paying off big time as far as a time save.
It's good to hear. Jose told me about your stop, start, continue. So I made a Padlet with start, stop, continue columns. But I just put it up in the course menu and I haven't gotten any responses yet. But it's a great idea.
Yeah, I like the idea of adding Padlet. I haven't ever done it on Padlet, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so you see, it's funny you see, Shelley, how your idea went on and carries on its own. It gets passed on, and then Susan was talking about it. And I told her about you and how you came up with that. And then Susan was, hey, what if I put it on a Padlet and I create 3 columns so that each column has its own place for students to put their start, stop, and continue.
That's great, Susan. I might steal your idea now.
Oh, for sure. It was your idea to start with, so thank you. But I hope they start using it. I just put it up.
So again, I mean, and to speak to what Shelley just said about, I think we probably met once or twice, and then after that, I think you just went on and you just built all these, you built all these Spark pages, which is one big reason why I'm a big fan of Adobe Spark is just once you figure it out, all the plus signs and what you can do and what you cannot do, because there is no steep learning curve, I think, and I think once you figure out, what are the things you can and cannot do, I think it's up to you to visualize what you want your course to look like. And like what Shelley said earlier, it is a visual, much more visual tool than what Blackboard can do for you. And so if you do have a course, like in, for example, modern art history or Spanish course, or anything that really you need to kind of visualize, and kind of even storytelling approach works really well with Adobe Spark. I've seen courses where historical and like a class on history where then you can tell the story as you're going down. It's very much like a web page, so you're going up to down approach, and then like Shelley showed, you can put images, videos, and other kind of media there to tell your story.
Yeah, I'm definitely, one of my learning objectives, goals is to convert some of my lectures into Adobe Spark. So I'm working on that as we speak, because I want to take my course to the next level. But you're right about understanding the limitations of what you're using. So for example, for video, Adobe Spark is great for creating short 2-minute videos. But if you have a video, my introduction video, it might be 20 minutes or 16 minutes, that had to be done differently. So I used QuickTime and then uploaded it into YouTube to be able to embed it into Adobe Spark. So, learning kind of the idiosyncrasies of Adobe Spark versus Blackboard versus, something else is important.
Yeah.
And just to do a quick plug, we are going to have a workshop on Adobe Spark on creating pages, just like Shelley has done, as she showed us today. I have one March 8 at, what time? It's March 8 at 1 and March 12 at 1 o'clock. So that's my little plug there if anybody wants to show up. And
they're on my calendar. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, it would be great if you come by. Again, all the workshops are recorded, and so we will link them on our website and then make them available that way. And again, any other, and I'm sure Shelley, I don't know how you feel, but if anyone out there that's listening has any questions for you, is that okay to either
Of
like?
course, absolutely.
I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure. But yeah, I will. This is the kind of thing I like to pick people's brains and how, especially when I'm meeting one-on-one with faculty, is what is the vision that you have and how you make things happen. So that again, this is how I learn to pass on that information to other faculty and help them out. So thank you again for coming by and doing this workshop. I was just blown away when I saw your course. I was like, we got to have you on, and thank you for taking time on your, thank you for taking the time to show up.
It's
So
my
definitely.
pleasure.
All right, so I'm gonna